Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to another edition of Stars, Stripes, and Anfield Nights. With me tonight, I have Toby. The other guys dropped out or had busy weeks, but me and Toby are going to carry you through for at least 30 minutes tonight. First off, Toby, how you doing?
I'm doing good. No, just got back from work a couple minutes ago, and I'm just ready to talk some Liverpool football. How about
I
you?
am in the exact same boat. We were chatting about that before, but workday is over and we get to at least, maybe not the full news that we'd want from a Liverpool week, but certainly that will be next week's agenda. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, on the first off on the topic tonight, we have a new left back target found, and the new left back target is Benfica's Álvaro Carreras, and I looked him up a little bit. I think I remember him playing for like Man U in some friendlies preseason, but touted as potentially Robertson's successor. The news kind of around it is that his performance against Atletico Madrid in Champions League was like a big indicator for Liverpool, maybe convincing him to be that he is the backup to Robertson, the potential successor. £42 million is the touted price. Toby, do you know anything about this guy? What's your
Uh,
thoughts on Robertson's replacement plan?
mhm. First and foremost, I want to address Jay Muse. Hey, how you doing, man? Great to have you on the chat. Um, as far as Alvaro Carreras goes, I've never heard of this guy. Soccer is like a worldwide sport, so there's a lot of players out there. I was looking at some of his stats, some preliminary viewing, and not a lot of offense. Let's put it that way. Defensively, his numbers are impressive. He has 11 tackles. Looks like 7 won tackles, a percentage of 63, about 64%, and only lost 4 tackles. So that's good. As far as like him being Robertson's replacement, I imagine over the rest of this first half of the season, we're going to be hearing some names come out. I know during the off season we were hearing some names like Ait Niori. That one's my preferred pick. The ball just always seems to find him. Um, but as far as Alvaro Carreras goes, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we hear more names coming out, not just specifically his. Um, so yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's kind of it's early days planning Robertson's direct successor. There's going to be a lot of names touted with being his successor, and like you said, the eight Nuri shout is exactly where I'm sitting. I'm thinking he seems like the most, I guess makes the most sense for a Robertson replacement. Gets forward really well, better than Robertson in my opinion. I don't know if maybe he's as defensively sound, but maybe that's something you work on if Trent goes out the door. Maybe you look for a more defensively sound right back like Bradley stepping up, and then you want more adventure on the left. But yeah, I was looking like I recognized his name, and when I watch like preseason games, like I'm excited to see some of the youngsters. And funny enough, like I know United have that like winger slash midfielder from Uruguay who hasn't quite featured for him. But like, even if a player like stars for another team, I'll keep an eye on it or at least recognize it. But like looking at Carreras' appearances, he got loaned out like 3 seasons in a row. Benfica, he's only played, I think, a combined like 19 games for them in the league. So that's including a loan from last season. The season just started this season. So I was kind of wondering if it's just, like you said, like news fodder. But like, would you want someone? He's 21 years old. Do you think that's even worth the gamble on at 42 million for someone who doesn't have Premier League experience? And or do you think like even at that point we should look at our own academy, like Owen Beck's name? That's he was coming up through the ranks. But would you be willing to take a chance on like a player like Carreras with Robertson still maybe having like a couple years left, or would you just wait and then get a like for like replacement once Robertson's ready to leave?
Yeah, that's a good question, Drew. I wouldn't want to spend 42 million on him just because he's traveled around and not enough Premier League experience. Um, as far as like looking for a replacement for Robertson, I imagine maybe even this offseason. Like in my opinion, it's one of the positions that low key we need, like low key, because like Robertson, he's not getting any younger, right? And so like you want to have a replacement, kind of like what they did with Marmardashvili with Becker. Allison, right? Just in case if he leaves. Not saying that Robertson's going to leave anytime soon, but you want to have somebody groomed, a player groomed, ready to go whenever Robertson does go, or if he does go down with injury. As far as like, yeah, like I said, I wouldn't pay 42 million for him specifically. Would not spend 55 million on euro. That's a good point. The euro, the Lenny Euro thing, I have kind of an odd thought about that one. I'm not too sure if Lenny was ever interested in joining Liverpool. That's just my thought on it. I never got the sense that he wanted to join. It always just seemed like there was connections between him and Real Madrid. And then when he did sign with Manchester United, he went with the highest bidder. Liverpool wasn't going to do that. They were just in the market for a fifth center back, right? So like I don't get the sense that Euro was ever truly interested in coming to Liverpool. I just think it was just a link that was being touted around. But back to the left back thing. At 20 million, I probably wouldn't sign Carreras. Not yet. I would like to see those numbers improve. Um, I would love to see them throw out some other names as well. Obviously, you mentioned earlier, Ait Nori. That's the big one. Just some other names.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that. And I do like the Lenny Euro shout out from Jay Muse. It seems like that kind of vein where it's like a young player who's maybe had exciting moments at a club. Euro was 18 years old, I believe, when moved to United. Way too young, in my opinion, to drop that 55 million. Carreras at 21 for 42 million just seems a bit off for or a bit high for an unproven Premier League player. Yeah, so, but as you said, it's a position we definitely need to look at in the future. Like what you said about having someone ready to replace him or like waiting in the ranks to replace him. I think Tsimikas might have been why we got him at first. I remember him impressing
Mm-hmm.
at his previous club. I think they beat Arsenal. I'm blanking on the team as a Spanish team, if I'm not mistaken, and they beat Arsenal in the Europa League. And I
Mm-hmm.
remembered that Tsimikas game, but anyway, Tsimikas doesn't look like he's a good backup in my opinion, but I wouldn't want him to replace Robertson. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see who Liverpool goes for. Kind of like again touching on what you said about like someone waiting in the ranks, ready to take over. I like how like Trent came in and took over Nathaniel Klein when he was there, just kind of the usurp that like way players can usurp into the team and take over. I think like an eight Nori could definitely do that. Like I don't
Mm-hmm.
think he'd have to wait long to replace like Robertson. But at the same time, I'm not concerned about Robertson's quality, but more so his age and like how many minutes he's going to need to play. But yeah, would you say left back is the number one position we need to look at moving forward, or do you think other positions need reinforcement first?
Mm-hmm. So I don't think left back is the priority, really. If we want to talk about signing any position, really any signing, it'll definitely go down to Trent Alexander-Arnold, right? We need to get that one done ASAP. And I'm flabbergasted, as many Liverpool fans are, that deal didn't get done sooner. Um, as far as like positions go, I think I'd prefer to have depth at the midfield before I focus on left back. Where we're starting to see it now, fans are complaining about how Slot is not rotating his players. Well, that kind of comes down to not having the depth, right? Let's look at the players that's there. You have Curtis Jones. I mean, he's not bad, but he's not going to be winning the starting role anytime soon. Endo, obviously, Slot doesn't favor him. Let's see. Man, I'm drawing a blank here. Anyways, it just kind of proves my point. I would like to get some depth, maybe holding midfielder to back up Gravenberg, kind of just in case. Later on in the show, we're going to talk about this O'Kern. I have a theory on that one. Maybe that what is a depth signing if they so choose to go through with that. Preferably, I would like to get more depth at the midfielder. Maybe even get a guy who can start right away.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on it for me, nail on the head with the Gravenberch. Like I don't think we really have a like for like replacement or someone. I know McAllister could probably fill in that, but we know it's not his preferred position. Also, probably not going to get the best out of him in that holding role. Jay Muse throughout Morton and Yoni, and Yoni's definitely looks promising. I've always liked Morton, but hopefully they get some chances to show. Like maybe they step in and they're ready to take that next step forward. Otherwise, it's Jones, and then I'm curious for Elliott potentially to challenge for Szoboszlai's spot. Maybe Jones can challenge as well. We'll talk about Dominic in a second here, but just wanted to quickly address. Thank you to everyone who's joining in on the stream tonight. Everyone who's watching, please get your questions and comments in. We'll definitely bring them up and address them as the stream goes on. Baj definitely out on loan, maybe next year. Who knows? But yeah, in the chat, give us a shout for your left back signings or who you would look to reinforce in the midfield as well. But that being said, we'll move on to Szoboszlai because that is one of our other topics for the night. Red's shining on international break. We've got a lot of players to shout out. I think a lot of international teams can look to Liverpool players and big thank yous. But we'll start with Don because he was in the kind of note that Steven from LFC Transfer Room sent over. Toby, he didn't do too great the other day, but he did get a goal in the most recent match. He got a superb free kick. I don't know if you saw that, and then a penalty kick. But yeah, what are your thoughts on his performance international team versus his performances for Liverpool? And do you think he'll find his form after the break?
Yeah, so I hope this isn't the case where Szoboszlai goes on international break and plays well for the international team, right? But when it comes to Liverpool, we don't see that transition. I kind of fear it's kind of like a Cody Gakpo situation, but Gakpo has played a lot better as of late on the team. I don't really know. Szoboszlai, he's kind of there's things that he does well, and there's things that he doesn't do well. That he gets criticisms for. This year it's like pulling up the statistics here for Szoboszlai. Yeah, against versus other midfielders in his position, like he's ranked in like the 90th percentile when it comes to attacking, right? But when you see his statistics versus attacking midfielders slash wingers, those numbers go down. Like some of them are below or right at the 40th percentile mark. So it's like I hope that he can find his form. I hope he can contribute more to Liverpool because going forward, we're going to need his offensive contributions. We can't keep relying on Salah and Diaz to score goals. We need more production from the 9 and the 10. But yeah, hopefully his starts with Hungary in the during the international break has helped.
Yeah, definitely. It's something Slots touched on too about wanting like Dom to score more. Essentially, he's like if you're playing in that role for Liverpool, you need to contribute to the goals. And I think we all know the qualities that he has. I think he's kind of fluffed his lines in some key moments where he's tried to make the extra pass when it was unnecessary. But hopefully, scoring for his country does pick up his confidence a bit. Richard Huttonson put some good questions in the chat. Thank you for putting these up in the chat, Richard. Definitely appreciate that. Hi, Drew, Toby, American fans in chat. How are you? We have Chelsea, Leipzig, Arsenal, Brighton, in the Premier League and the League Cup, Leverkusen and Aston Villa. What do you think of Kelleher in net for these upcoming games? Toby, I'll let you take that one on first.
Yeah, I was reading an article last week about how Kelleher and Allison's numbers are the same, are kind of similar, excuse me. But those games were against opponents lesser than Chelsea, lesser than your Leverkusen's, right? As far as like how I feel about him coming up, I think Kelleher's going to do what he needs to do. He's going to go out there and play the best he can. I wouldn't say we don't have too much to worry about with Kelleher. We do have the best number 2 goalkeeper in the league, and so I trust that he'll go out there, get the job done, help us secure some wins along the way until Allison comes back. What about you, Drew?
I'm very similar. I think I've been very impressed whenever Kelleher's had to fill in for Allison. I think it's obvious that he's stepped up in some big games, won a couple cup finals. Can't ask more than that. I think he can. Like for me, sometimes it looks like he isn't as like composed as Allison. Like he still makes amazing saves, but I think Allison just makes it look so easy, whereas Kelleher just doesn't seem to have that maybe composure that comes with the experience of playing game in, game out, and being at Allison's level for so long. But definitely not worried about Kelleher stepping into the net, especially with Van Dijk. Thankfully, getting his red card in the Netherlands game and giving himself a rest. So I think with the support that Kelleher has around him, he's in prime position to do a good job while deputizing for Allison. But again, sorry, Toby.
I wanted to add on to that Virgil van Dijk red card. Yeah, you never want to see that happen, right? But in this case, you do, considering the lack of depth. I see here in the comments that I think it's Richard here. He's asking about cover and rotation and depth. Depth is kind of scarce on this team, especially with that back four. You do have, let's see, you have Van Dijk, Kanate, Kwanzaa, Gomez. You can probably throw Gomez in the center back or right back, whatever. I kind of consider him as a utility player. Yeah, so and with him getting that red card, it prevents injuries. It allows him to come back early. So a lot of Liverpool are thanking the soccer gods that he was able to come home early. And let's just hope that our other players that are out right now on international break, that they can come back rid of injuries.
Yeah, definitely have the same feeling there. Salah coming back, opting not to play in the second game for Egypt. Very grateful that they didn't force him to play, and especially, Richard said before, the run of games that we had is absolutely insane. So getting players back fit is key, and also for players like Salah and Verge to have that little bit of extra rest, will be amazing. Jay Muse said it as well. 7 LFC players captained their countries over international break. Absolutely phenomenal to see. That's something that I really love that Liverpool have identified moving forward, because it really does feel like you have so many leaders out there on the pitch. Like Endo's captain of his country, Dominic's captain of his country, Virgil, even shout out to young Connor Bradley captaining Northern Ireland to a 5-0 win today. There's just so many just leaders in our team, which really, really feels lucky. But is there any other player that you want to shout out from international break right now, Toby?
Sheesh. I'll be honest, I haven't been following international break. But I will want to add on to what you said about 7 players captaining the team. Sheesh. I actually want to give a shout out to Curtis Jones for getting called up. I'm not sure if he got a chance to play, but I think there it is. Yeah. Congratulations to Curtis. I do think that's an indictment on just how well he's played whenever he's had the chance. Big shout out to Curtis Jones. I know he gets a lot of crap for not playing well, but under Slot, you have to admit he's been impressive. As far as like 7 players captaining their team internationally, yeah, I think that kind of goes back to Curtis Jones, right? Like the influence that Slot has had on these players. It's quite remarkable, actually.
Yeah, I agree. I think you always and I really appreciate like Slot's responses in interviews, like how he'll always like credit Jurgen about leaving him with such good players to work at, with like leaving the club in good stead. But I thought that Slot would do a good job, but just been very pleased with how he's taken over, and as you said, like the way he's guided some of these players, and definitely has a very different leading personality than Klopp. But that probably it feels nice to have a new personality in the room as much as Klopp will always have Liverpool supporters love. Slot has really started off strongly, and a lot to appreciate from his leadership so far. But as you said, Jones definitely deserves the shout out. He had to back out, unfortunately, with the birth of his first child. But as you said, congratulations to him. And looking at the questions in the chat. Again, thank you, chat, for chiming in with the questions and participating, watching, and getting in the chat. We really do appreciate you joining these streams every week, and you're asking some fire questions. Richard J. Muse, Robert McGuire, anyone who's wanting to add to the chat, please get in the comments, and we'll go through them as they come in. Definitely appreciated with just me and Toby capping for the week's stream. Let me go on to the next questions from the chat. Good. Richard, I'm gonna come back to you, but I want to bring up one that actually, sorry, apologies, Richard. I am gonna bring one up from you now. You asked a tough ball question, so what do you think about Szoboszlai, Nunez, and Jones' performances at LFC? We already touched on Szoboszlai and a bit on Jones, but how do you want to answer for Nunez and more so Jones? Just to highlight it now that we've been talking about it, Toby, because he also asked the follow-up questions: is Curtis Jones good enough at LFC? He's gone on loan he should have gone on loan a couple of years ago to get game time. What do you feel about Curtis Jones' role with Liverpool, how he's been doing, and Nunez as well?
Yeah, I'm gonna start with Nunez. I said it last week. I don't think his performances have been good enough. I highlighted that he's only had 9 shots and 1 goal. That's not good enough for a center forward. You need to be able to shoot the ball more, be able to score more goals. To be fair, he's had limited playing time, but I think that's kind of an indictment on how Slot sees him. Just like I'm not sure if he's impressed or what Slot's saying, but Nunez needs to find a way to get out of it and be able to find a way to get onto the pitch. As Curtis Jones, I I think he's been impressive this year. In previous years, I haven't been impressed. I don't think I didn't think he was starting caliber. Neither do I think so now. I do think his role right now will be on the bench. But who knows? Anything could happen. You could, God forbid, have an injury or just one of the players in the midfield doesn't play well and he just gets his chance. And as I highlighted earlier with Jones, every time he's gone on the pitch, or I'm not gonna say every time, when he's gone onto the pitch, he has played well. He's made the most of it. And how do you win a starting spot in any sport? You make the most of your opportunities, whether it's just 10 minutes of playing, 15 minutes playing, bloody hell, even 5 minutes playing. You just got to make the most of your opportunities. Right now, with Jones, I do think he is where he needs to be, but maybe, just maybe, he could sneak into the starting lineup if one of the players starts struggling. Just Keyword maybe.
Yeah, I'm leaning more towards that as well, especially we'll see how quickly Harvey progresses. He might get in the team a little earlier than anticipated. I think I was reading somewhere that he might even feature at the end of October, but I know they'll probably not rush that. Other than that, but like it goes back to our conversation about Dom needing to get more goals and more assists, more of that output. Because I think that's where Jones steps in. I think he has impressed with the time that he's had so far. For me, the thing with Jones over the years has always been that his injuries take him out of the side. Like he hasn't always come in and impressed in games, but there are enough games where he's come in and done a really good job. I think there was a stretch of 5 games where he was like scoring every game or assisting every game. I don't know if it was 2 seasons ago, but then he got injured like after 8 games, and like he just really hasn't had the best of luck with injuries. And I think we've seen over the years with the likes of like Oxlade-Chamberlain and Naby Keita, there's plenty of players that we've seen come through Liverpool with injuries. Thiago, it doesn't matter how good you are, if you're injured, that's always going to count against you. And there's really nothing you can do with that. Hopefully, if he does get his chance, to take over for Dom. We've seen with Kanate coming in for Kwanzaa that Slot will keep playing the player who's in form. So if he gets a chance, yeah, we'll see. Like you said, maybe. And then as for Nunez, I'm similar. I think his stat last year, which really was not the one. I think his output, like a lot of people talk about his goals and assist stats, like the contributed goals from last season was a step up from the previous season, and it was. His last season was a lot better than his first stint with us, but I think his still had that stat of had the worst conversion rate of a striker in the top 5 leagues. And for me, like it's the double edge of he gets himself in the position to score, and if he can find however to get it click to add those goals and make that conversion rate not the worst in the top 5 leagues, but one of the best, then that could be a scary center forward striker to have in our lineup. But he hasn't quite clicked yet, and as you said, Slot has been preferring other players to him in most games. So we'll see if he gets his chance and if he takes it this season, because I do feel like he needs this season to really prove himself. Um, let's go back to the chat again. Again, thank you, Richard, Robert, J Muse, and anyone else who wants to get in the conversation as well. Please do. You're asking some great questions in the chat. Let's see. I think it's.
I would like to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to highlight one comment by Richard. He said this is Darwin Nunez's make or break season. It's kind of like what you said a little bit earlier. Yes, this is a make or break season for him. This is the 3rd year of his contract. Usually in any sport we give a coach or a player 3 seasons to figure it all out, and if they don't, then adios. See you later. With Nunez, it kind of goes back to what I said earlier. Last week why I'm not encouraged by him. I don't even know what I'm trying to get at here, but my point is, yes, this is a make or break season for him, and he does need to step up, or else, who knows?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a make or break season for a few players. Darwin's definitely one of them. I think Gakpo is one of them coming in, even though I'm a big fan of Gakpo. I think a lot of people thought Diaz would be a make or break season as well, and he's certainly making it so far. But yeah, I think Slot. I'll do that every once in a while. But this is like Slot didn't want to axe anyone. He didn't come in and I guess they did sell a lot of younger players, a lot of academy players, but as far as like first team players go, he didn't really axe anyone or make like a big statement of like selling a big player or kind of doing like the Pep Guardiola getting rid of Joe Hart kind of move. So I think Slot really is giving players this season to show what they have, and then maybe we'll see an exodus of players we've been familiar with the past few years. Yeah, totally.
And yeah, as you highlighted earlier, he's given a Slot giving his players a look at, or kind of, I agree. Like I think we're gonna touch on this a little bit later, but O'Connor, that one could be one of those players where or with Szoboszlai, excuse me, where this might be an audition year for him. Going back to Darwin Nunez, this might be an audition year for him as well. So we have a couple players that are probably under audition years, and that could lead to some of these links, such as O'Kern or maybe even Carreras per se.
Let's jump on the Kern chat now, because that is someone that we're mentioning or it's in the title of the video for someone we could look at. Slot target X player. And I'm going to tackle two of Richard's questions with that in mind. What do you think about FSG ambition? And will we buy anyone in January 2025 with the ownership of FSG? So I'll tie that in with the O'Kern. Apologies for any Turkish speaking or Turkish origin people in the chat. Kökçü or Kökçü. He's a Benfica midfielder. Arne Slot has managed him before at Feyenoord. He has pretty impressive stats. He started 119 league games for Feyenoord, 23 goals, 34 appearances for Benfica in the league, 9 goals, 36 caps for Turkey, and he's only 23 years old. But with those stats in mind, this player in mind, Toby, you did say midfield would be the position that you think we need to look at. Do you think FSG will go in and buy someone in January? And do you think we'll go with the first name, Orkun, fits the bill for someone who we should be looking at in January?
Shout out to you, Drew, for trying to pronounce his entire name. I'm not that ambitious. But O'Kern, as far as like the January transfer window, if we do see anything happen in the January transfer window, I imagine it's going to be just for depth. It's not going to be any big time signings. For what I heard, it's like about a month. The transfer window, or that January transfer window, is about a month long. As far as O'Kern goes, highlighting what I said earlier about Szoboszlai, this could be one of those years where an audition year for him, and so that's probably why we're seeing all these links to him. Or it could be that Slot really wants O'Kern on his team because he knows what he can do or what he can provide offensively. I was looking earlier this season; he has a total of 4 goals and 3 assists. I mean, that end of it, and all competitions. I mean, that end of itself is more production than Dominic Szoboszlai. Sorry, Szoboszlai. It is what it is. Um, Something else that you mentioned earlier was Harvey Elliott, and this has been something that's been on my mind lately. Is that Szoboszlai maybe is one of those players that needs to be rotated in and out on a more consistent basis, and Elliott could help ease load for Szoboszlai. I think if he starts playing well too, he might even be able to replace him. Who knows?
Yeah, I think he'll definitely get that chance if Dominic doesn't come back from break, firing for the squad. But yeah, for FSG's ambition, for me personally, I think they've done a pretty good job with the team. I know they definitely should have been more ambitious under Klopp with some of the signings, especially reinforcements in the midfield that were crying out to be reinforced. Same with center back. I think those 2 years for me were the ones that did not leave a pleasant taste in the mouth with their ownership. But I do think they've done a good job overall steering Liverpool in the right direction. It's I think it's like you change 4 games in Klopp's tenure with Liverpool. That's two league titles and 2 more Champions Leagues under his belt during that time. So that kind of shows where we were at under the FSG ownership. Again, I'm not trying to give them a pass for not being ambitious enough during those 2 center back and midfield crisis times. I just look at all the other running clubs at the moment, and am at least grateful for so far what FSG have done, especially since I was following before in like the Gillette and Hicks era, which was not fun. But just wanted to touch on that and not ride the fence on the FSG and out debate. But just to touch on the next questions, or real quick, Richard Hesson, what do you think of Chiesa at Liverpool? I don't think we've really seen him, to be honest. So, the one League Cup game, so a little too early to judge. But hopefully, we see a lot more from him. But maybe that speaks to January signings. I don't think Slot's really gotten to bring out the checkbook yet. So maybe he will in January. Let's try to bring up another one down here.
Quick
Okay, I
shout
guess
out to
we can.
the sorry, a quick shout out to Lasady for making it on time. I know you're probably sleeping in. I don't know what part of the world you're in, but hey, big shout out for making it. Thank you for being on the show, and thank you for all of our commenters, Richard, Jay Muse, Robert. Thank you all. It's helped the show out a lot, and we really appreciate your support.
I definitely 100% agree, Toby. And CD, totally understandable. Maybe next time. I believe he's down in South Africa, so definitely forgiveness for the time zone change. I guess, yeah, since it's just the two-man crew tonight, Toby, we can start moving towards wrapping up the show. But before that, anyone who has any questions or comments, please throw them in the chat. Again, we'll try to address them before we wrap up, probably in about 10 minutes. But as we have a big weekend ahead before we jump back on next Tuesday, Richard, again, another banger. Give lineup prediction and pre-match analysis against Chelsea on Sunday. So I won't hold you to all of those cues that Richard asked for, because that's a lot. But how are you feeling going into the match on Sunday against Chelsea? And what do you think we should expect? Like, what's the result for you?
Yeah, this Chelsea matchup is very interesting, right? That front three is pretty dangerous. It kind of reminds me of our front three in a way. I was looking it up. They have Chelsea has scored 16 goals and have allowed 8, while we have scored 13 and have allowed only 2. So this will be definitely interesting. I'm curious to see how we maintain Chelsea's offense. We can hope to maintain, but we cannot stop them. I think they're going to get 1 or 2 goals in this game. As far as scores go, I think it's going to be a high scoring game. I know Chelsea has 3-0 on the road while being like 1-3 at home. But I think I was reading earlier this morning that their last couple of visits to Anfield have not been good, and so I think I think Liverpool can win 3-2. What about you, Drew?
I'm hoping for a more comfortable win. It depends how they show up. I think we're getting them at the right time where they have shown really, really promising form, but they did have that little blip. They were playing, was it Nottingham Forest on the weekend? Like they drew, and like I still don't think it's entirely clicked for them. I think obviously Cole Palmer will have like a hat trick of assists in one game, 4 goals in another game. But I do think it's really dependent on how he plays, and if we can lock him down. They got Madueke on the wing, and Nicholas Jackson has knocked in some goals this season, but I do think that we can contain them. And I do think their defense is something that isn't the strongest, and now their goalkeeper, not is it Sanchez? I don't think he's a great goalkeeper. So Lasady said in the or in the chat that our style of play suits bigger teams because Slot loves to play through the press. The Forest loss was a proper low block. We haven't faced another one. I'm curious to see. I think Chelsea will be our biggest game, and then follow that up with Arsenal the next weekend of the season so far. But and I remember Klopp, we always said that, he was always great against teams that like to play, but I don't think we had the best record last season against the top four. So I'm really excited to see how we do set up against Chelsea. I'm more along the lines that it could be like a 2-0, 3-1, but any kind of win is, we'll take it no matter what. Yeah, let's see. Richard saying 3-2 Chelsea. Aligning with you on that one, Toby. Mac playing 66 minutes tonight. Robert, great for the shout out. Definitely happy he got taken off early.
Thank God.
Richard says Kelleher is shaky in that for LFC. I think he's done pretty well. As I was saying before, he doesn't always look like it's the most smoothest operator in goal, but he's done really well for us.
And with the color thing, I understand the timidness around him, right? He's the backup, and he's not Allison Becker, right? But he can still make saves, and he still makes some pretty good saves. Not Allison-like saves, but still some pretty good saves. And as I said earlier, he shows up when we need him to. So I imagine we'll get much the same throughout this big run of the next couple of games.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that, and hopefully he stepped up for us in the past when we needed him before. Hopefully he does again. City cannot afford lapses. We don't necessarily have the facilities to mark Palmer out of a game. Their back four and keeper is mediocre, maybe 3-1 Liverpool. What do you think about our ability to mark Palmer, Toby? Who would you assign that task, or how do you think we'll approach that?
Oh man, that one's gonna be interesting. I kind of want to say that I would imagine in this game Liverpool will want to play more possession based. Like, not saying that they haven't done so throughout the season, but I think this in this game it's probably gonna be more focused on possessions and maybe less on trying to score goals or just waiting for the right opportunity. Right. Um, I imagine that when Cole Palmer gets the ball, they're probably going to start trying to box him or try to double team to make sure that he doesn't get his goals. I would not be surprised in this game if he does get one goal or if he even gets the brace in this one. I would imagine that we will try to win the ball up the pitch so we can prevent those opportunities. I was reading something earlier that Palmer he's had 6 goals and 4 assists, and those assists have gone towards Noni. I don't know the guy's name. I can't remember his name, but it's the most out of 2 players in the Premier League, I believe. So I imagine we're going to try to find a way to neutralize Palmer to make sure that he cannot generate those opportunities or create those shots that he's so accustomed to, and probably try to win the ball as quickly as possible up the pitch. As far as players go, like who would I assign to him? Maybe McAllister. I think McAllister is one of your better defending midfielders, and if he breaks through that, I think Van Dijk will be probably playing man on him.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how we tackle the Palmer dilemma. I think we'll definitely have to be, like you said, I think stop the ball before it gets to him is probably the best play. But maybe Van Dijk will keep an eye on him on transitions. Like if Chelsea are looking to ping a ball out from the back to Palmer, like who's making a move up top, Van Dijk marking him. And then for me, honestly, I'd keep like a Szoboszlai or a Gravenberch for me. I think that matchup should be interesting because I think Gravenberch has the physicality and he's thrown in some really good tackles. I think a lot of players can be a bit hesitant from making a tackle, and I think Gravenberch has thrown in quite a few good ones and has really impressed me. And for me, Szoboszlai, just for his industry, like one thing you can't fault him for is for running. Like he runs a whole game. I think just having someone with his physicality and his energy, potentially bodying Palmer could be good. But yeah, they definitely have. they're not always firing, but they have certainly a plethora of players at their disposal, Chelsea, to that could show up on their day against Liverpool. So I think after Nottingham Forest game, you definitely can't take any game for granted. Um, Chelsea, you're probably more up for it, but let's see. We gave score prediction. We gave lineup, or I guess we'll go lineup. Do you see? We'll wrap it up with the lineup for the Chelsea match because we did a bit of a statistic or little analysis there and gave our predictions. But Toby, who do you think's going to get the nod to start against Chelsea?
Yeah, so I think in this game we're not going to see much changes. I mean, we haven't seen many throughout the season. I don't expect us. Yeah, Gravenberg versus Caicedo, that's going to be very interesting. Um, but yeah, I don't think we'll see main changes. I think we'll see Robbo and at the left back with Trent on the right. You got your center backs, Van Dijk and Kanate. We'll see Gravenberg, Maka. We might see Maka come off early in this one, considering that he has that abductor injury or that abductor scares. Szoboszlai. Then your front three will have Salah, Jota, and Diaz. Yeah, it's kind of a big game per se because we haven't. I shouldn't say that we haven't played anybody, but they're not that anybody that's the top 6 team in the league. So I think this is what many fans and many haters, I'll say, are looking for towards see if Liverpool can actually hang with the big boys, or was this all just a smokescreen, really?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think this next period between the international break is going to be very juicy for people who tune into Liverpool. Definitely Liverpool supporters, but as you said, haters who probably have their eye on Liverpool who want to dismiss them or want to laugh. They're certainly going to keep their eye on this set of fixtures because there's some big ones. Real Madrid, Arsenal, Chelsea. You got some blockbusters in there, and um, yeah, I'm curious. I think Chelsea will be a good test. I think Arsenal's the real big test, but as I've always said, it doesn't matter. Like it's like if you beat Man U and then lose to Nottingham Forest the next week, it's for me that's drop wasted points. So I think we need to do the business
To be
against
fair,
pretty much. Mhm.
to be fair with Nottingham Forest, I think they're going to be a tough team to beat, considering that they do play a low block. That's a team right there that hey, they don't mind having 30% possession per game. 'Cause that's what they expect. They're playing low block. It's more of a Nottingham Forest. They're more of a team that will take advantage of their chances while they can. So let's give credit. I want to give credit to Forest there. I do think that they could have beat Chelsea a couple weeks ago as well.
Yeah, they definitely have shown like that they've been a good team. As a Nuno coaching them has done a fantastic job so far. So definitely will be a team. I agree that will pick some points off the big boys. Jay Muse, come on. I'll take 3 points from these two matches. 4 points. Okay. Thank you, Jay Muse. That one's a little better, a little more understandable. I was like 3 points. What you're just gonna give a loss to Arsenal or Chelsea? But um, I'd say 4 points would be I don't think I'd I'd happily take it because I'd want us to win both. Acceptable, probably, yes, depending on if the draw is away at Arsenal. But I do think Arsenal is, you know, they've got Odegaard injuries. They've got a couple players with little knocks. We'll see about the Saka one. I think this is a time for us to really take the league by its throat and yeah, if we do well over this next period, I don't know about you, Toby, but I think this could be the biggest period for us in the league. This next like 6 games in the league. Um, but we'll wrap up there. Again, thank you to everyone in the chat for joining. Everyone watching, we really appreciate everyone joining the stream and joining these streams every week. Toby, do you have any final questions or statements before we sign off?
Um, I think as far as like the Arsenal game goes, that one's the one I'm looking most forward to. I don't think we play Real Madrid anytime soon. That one's another one I'm looking forward to, or yeah, forward to. But yes, Jay Muse, you should see me next time. But as far as like league play goes, Chelsea and Arsenal are the ones I'm looking forward to. Hopefully we can get the win against Arsenal. If not, worst case scenario, a draw. Don't want to lose to Arsenal. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this stretch of games, seeing how Liverpool does play.
100%. I'm in the same boat. It's going to be some of the most exciting games this season, definitely of the season so far. And again, everyone in the chat and everyone watching, thank you for tuning in. I only say this once a stream because I believe us bringing you good content first and engaging is first and foremost the priority. If you do like what you've seen, LFC Transfer Room streams every day, and please like, share, subscribe. We really do appreciate it. It helps out the channel. But for now, thank you for everyone joining. Have a great rest of your week. Hopefully, we have a lot to celebrate from the weeks ahead as Liverpool fans. And we'll see you on the stream next Tuesday. Night.